Hello and welcome to the American winter resort of Aspen in the heart of Colorado for the final races of the Audi FIS World Cup ski racing season. The World Cup finals hosted here for the first time, and the men's tour back here for the first time in 16 years. Today is downhill day with both the men's and the women's downhill crystal globes going to the very last race of the season. Today is downhill day, Super G on Thursday, the team event for a small break on Friday, then we wrap up the tech titles on Saturday and Sunday, both the men and women in action on Saturday and Sunday. Now, Ruthie's Run is the name of the racetrack here in Aspen, Colorado, and some of the greats have won here if you go back in time. Franz Klammer won here in '76 after winning the Olympic gold in Innsbruck, as did the American racer, of course, Bill Johnson, when he won gold in Sarajevo in '84. Stenmark, Girardelli, Phil, Steve Mayer, all of the greats have won here in Aspen, and it is so good to see men's World Cup competition back on Ruthie's Run. Now, before we get downhill ski racing, let's give you a few tips and inside knowledge on the sport of speed racing. This is how you jump in the downhill. So now we know how to jump, let's go downhill ski racing. And Aspen, Colorado, hosting back-to-back downhills here to wrap up the speed season, the Super G day tomorrow. But the downhill titles will be battled very strongly indeed. In the men's competition, which goes first, Kjetil Jansrud and Peter Phil are the two skiers left in contention for the men's title. And of course, Ilka Stuhets and Sofia Goggia of Italy and Slovenia will try to take the title in the women's competition. You with the Eurosport ski team live in Aspen, Colorado at the World Cup finals. 5 days of ski competition wrapping up the Audi FIS Ski Racing World Tour. Today is downhill day, and two titles still need to be settled. The men's and women's downhill globes still up for grabs. It looks to be a much closer competition in the men's downhill, which will be run first here this morning with Jansrud and Peter Phil battling it out. So it's clear that the Italian needs a big win here today, and he needs to see Jansrud third or lower. And then if they're both in the mix of things, it will become quite a complicated calculation, because the top 25 downhillers in the world rankings qualify for this final speed race of the season, along with the newly crowned world junior champion, young Sam Morse from the United States of America. But each and every one of those racers in this quite elite race club and final ski of the season are looking to finish the tour on a high note. So the likes of Hannes Reichelt, Dominic Paris and Eric Gay really don't give a damn about Jansrud and Peter Phil's battle. They are looking for 100 World Cup points and a potential 60,000 Swiss franc point score. So the crowd is gathered and everybody is waiting to see whether Italy or Norway will take the downhill tour title for 2017. Downhill number 8 of the season on the Men's Ski Racing World Cup Tour. This is the last downhill of the 2017 season, and Jansrud goes up against Peter Phil. Both athletes warming up and preparing. Both athletes need a big final race, and Peter Phil on screen with bib number 3 would dearly love to take his first win of the season. He's trailing Kjetil Jansrud by 33 points. Now, joining myself in the commentary box is Ed Drake, former British #1 and a former World Cup downhill racer himself. Ed, qualifying for the World Cup finals is an achievement in its own right, but having to decide the title in the very last ski of the season is something very special, but for many, very nerve-wracking at the same time.
Yeah, it's tricky. End of the season, these guys had a long, tough winter, and still having to perform this late in the season to take home that globe is going to be a challenge in itself. But how exciting is that? All of the downhill so far this year, and we're still fighting it out on the last race of the season.
Now, Jansrud won that first downhill of the season on the 3rd of December. Here we are heading into mid-March, and as Ed quite rightly says, the Tour title has to be settled in this last ski. But of course, for the other races in these World Cup finals, there are points, prize money, and a high note to the season to be settled and scored here.
There is. These guys, you know, the finals, the World Cup finals are the biggest event for the guys, because it's so restricted. You know, it's not a full race quota. There's only a few guys that are allowed to go. So having to get there in itself is a big achievement, and it's a chance to show yourself and finish on a high.
Now, of course, there's a battle for third position as well. Whilst Jandrud and Peter Phil, there is still third spot to be taken by any one of 8 skiers. And as Ed has just pointed out, there are just 23 competitors in today's competition, representing 9 national ski associations. Ed, quick word from you.
What the hell?
Something is going on here!
National ski associations. Ed, quick word from you on number 23, Sam Morse. He's from the other side of the USA. He's an East Coast racer, but at 20 years of age, as the newly crowned World Junior Champion, he gets to mix it with the big boys today.
What an opportunity. A crowned World Junior Champion, then to come and mix it with the world's best. What an opportunity. Great stage, great sort of introduction, a real introduction to the pinnacle of ski racing, and I'm sure he's going to give it hell for leather in front of a home crowd.
Well, it comes up for a little bit of criticism. Some people think that the juniors shouldn't be pitched in against the big guns so early in their careers. I completely disagree. I think it's one of the best rules that the FIS have come up with for a long time, and they very rarely change them. What are your thoughts on that subject?
I think it's a great idea. These guys have worked hard, and it's a great reward for these guys having performed so well at World Juniors to then come and show up to World Cup finals is brilliant. I think it's great.
And congratulations to the Swedish resort of Åre, who've just literally wrapped up the World Junior Championships, and that place at the World Cup finals really does give the World Juniors a special edge to those competitions. So after 4 months of racing, we wrap up the downhill tour. Nick Fellows and Ed Drake in the commentary box. Dominic Paris for Italy to get the 8th and final downhill of the season underway. And Dominic Paris, like many of the skiers in this competition, may not have a shot at the discipline title, but finishing in the top 3 is a huge result for any athlete and means a big bonus from sponsors, prize money, and of course your National Ski Association. Ed, let's take our first look at the racetrack here today. We haven't seen the Men's World Cup stop in Aspen for 16 years. The downhill even further back than that. But it is a classic which started as far back as 1968 with World Cup races.
Yeah, it's sort of it's an all-rounders track. It's a big mix. There's some really flat sections like we saw at the top section, some rolling jumps, there's some super steep pitches, nearly 60% gradient down there through the middle patch here, and the snow is supposedly very, very hard. It's grippy North American, so classic North American snow. So these guys are looking to get these skis laid over and smooth transitions from edge to edge, trying to carry that speed down the steeper pitches.
Yeah, they tighten it up. There's a couple of tough turns down the aeroplane turn through Strummer Road. Straw Pile is the steepest part of the racetrack, but nothing should really scare this man on screen. Dominic Paris, highlight of his 2017 tour, winning the downhill in Kitzbühel, the toughest and most feared of them all. But Dominic Paris just making a few uncharacteristic line errors here.
He's having a few small errors, no big mistakes, but a few small errors, and I think he's got something to prove after a disappointing last outing when we were in Norway, which saw him leave the title.
Yeah, he was 11th and 9th in Kvitfjell, goes into first position, 1:33.07. It is fast. Fastest time in the second practice run was 1:34.42. So they're already almost 1.5 seconds faster than the second practice run here 24 hours ago. But this is not a winning run, Ed, surely.
I don't think so. He's not really committing to his outside ski. Watch that outside ski flap around a little bit, opening up with his chest in the back seat a little bit. It's a bit shorter than what we used to, only 1.5 minutes. So it's almost like a sprint downhill for these guys. These guys are used to sort of 2 minutes plus.
Yeah, maybe to bring it down the mountain just a little bit further. There is room to extend this racetrack, but for now, the world's best will take what they get. Sander is out on course for Germany. Good to see Andreas Sander qualify for these World Cup finals. A just reward for some consistent performances on the tour. I was impressed with his 8th position in the World Championship downhill in St. Moritz. There's a real buzz about the German speed ski team right now. We're used to them being strong in slalom and giant slalom, the tech disciplines, but they're starting to find some strength and depth with their downhill racers these days.
They are. They've got a good group of youngsters. They're all pushing each other forward. They're all moving in the same direction, challenging each other each and every day. And Sanders, it's interesting, those performances. He never looks pleased when he gets to the finish line. It shows that he feels like he's got a lot more to give. And again, just getting pushed offline just a little bit. Watch the distance between his legs. Every so often, his legs get split quite wide as the outside ski loses contact. But he's just trying to stay low and out of the bumps as he runs through the dapple lighting through the big airplane turn.
And of course, with the World Cup ski competition stopping here 16 years ago, it's a brand new racetrack when we're so used to previous World Cup form being one of the key facts and form guides for World Cup competition. This is a newbie for all of the races here. Top speed at 121 kilometers per hour for the German racers. That's in excess of 75 mph, and Sander just off the pace of Dominic Paris. 133.38. 0.31 seconds behind the Italian leader.
You picked up on a good thing there, Nick. Yeah, it's new to these guys, so all of these guys are at the same level. They've all had 2 training runs. It's a level playing field. Nobody's coming here with loads of experience, so a great leveler for today's race.
Here we go. Peter Phil looking for the downhill title, looking to successfully defend the title that he won last season, but he hasn't won a World Cup all tour long. Don't get me wrong, a model of consistency on the podium in 6 out of 7 races coming into this 8th and final World Cup downhill. Peter Phil would dearly love just to finish it with a win and take that title back to Italy.
And he's been on top form through both training runs, winning one, second in the next. He's been flying, and now look at him. Look, the man in confidence, staying in his tuck. He's got some work to do already, only a short into the track. Big jump there, look at him. He knows he's got the skills. He's just got to try and put it down in one run and see if that's going to be enough to send a message up to the start.
You don't expect these guys of this caliber to have nerves. You don't expect the butterflies to take control of their performance. But 0.62 for Peter Phil is a big surprise here right now. This man was fastest in training yesterday, runner-up the day before, had the measure of this track for the past 48 hours. And here we see Peter Phil struggling to stay low and forwards. For me, standing a little tall, but is he leaving his challenge to the last part of the track, the latter part of the piste here? Because Peter Phil, still with 3/10 to find, tightens the line just a little.
Just got to try and stay smooth. He's not got the challenge down here. There's a little bit of time through this final section, but he's going to have to absolutely fly.
Well, he's heard you. He's got the fastest speed through the gun at 124 kilometers per hour. Just off 77 again. The Italian drifts. The Italian is in trouble. 0.8. Peter Phil into second position. Remember, Jansrud finishes in the top 2 and the title goes to Norway. And Peter Phil knows that he has potentially lost his downhill crown.
Looked very relaxed, but maybe too relaxed down there. Just didn't really seem to have that fight through the opening section, getting pushed low in the line through some of the trickier sections, and right before the finish, just pushing, sucking low in the line, skiing extra meters, still managed to make up some time, but that is not going to scare Jansrud at the start.
And a clear example is there are no team rules in downhill ski competition because it's Dominic Paris that leads for Italy, potentially denying his great friend the downhill title. Kriechmeier is out on course already for the Austrian team. Kriechmeier, like Peter Phil before him, looking very strong in training. He won the opener comfortably, was second to Peter Phil here yesterday. And also, like Peter Phil, Kriechmeier is yet to win one this season. He seems to be finding form in the latter part of the tour. He'd love a couple more downhills after today, basically, Ed.
Yeah, I don't think he's ready for the season to be over. Just watch his feet. Look how the skis are trying to stay in contact with the snow. He's rolling up smooth and clean. Just again, maybe a little bit round through the line in this flatter section, but now this is where you've got to stand hard on those outside skis. Good transitions. Get those hands out in front of you. Really try and punch a hole in the wind rather than sticking your hands out like a giant sort of coat hanger as you're catching air.
This is the big aeroplane turn on the right foot, sweeping around from sunlight to shade. Course is quite narrow here. Don't get me wrong, every skier wants to win in Aspen, Colorado. Why? Because the greats have won here. Peter Muller, Franz Klammer, Mark Girardelli, Zurbriggen from Switzerland. You can go on and on. This was one of the places to win
back in the 80s, and here in 2017 we're wrapping up the downhill tour, and Kriechmeier into 4th position. Italy 1 and 2 with Dominic Paris and Peter Phil. Jansrud will be the next man in the gate. Jansrud needs a big race. I'm sure he won't mind us saying he has struggled in training. 15th and 11th. He's been too aggressive, Ed. He's been pushing too hard. He needs a little bit of what Peter Phil maybe took too much of. He needs to just relax a bit, let the skis do the work. But Peter Phil backed off maybe an edge too much.
Yeah, and with these snow conditions in North America, it's grippy and hard. So if you put too much pressure down through the edges, if the edges are slightly too sharp all the way to the tip of the ski bites a bit too much, and you end up taking out seconds and milliseconds when you're skiing over the snow. What you want is that loose, supple skiing, allow the skis to do the work. And Jansrud is flying through this opening section. He's looking like he's relaxed a little bit. Maybe he's taken some hard lessons through these training runs and putting into practice today.
Low and aerodynamic, tough position, trying to squeeze every bit of speed out of the skis. Now he comes into the technical mid part of the challenge after letting them glide on the upper section. These turns now, you need to be high and early, not too heavy on the edge at the end of the turn. This was where he was getting it wrong in training, and this is where he's struggling again come race day. Well, the clock misses his split time. We'll go on to the next split, but Jansrud through aeroplane, back into the sunshine, and now we look for the next key. Norway or Italy. Top 2 result for Jansrud gives him the title. And here's the clock, and he's 0.68 off the pace. Maybe this is not good enough for Jansrud. Oh, and again, a little indecision. He's getting bounced as the course gets a little bumpy on the lower part of the track. 2, 3, oh, it's 5th position. Now, let's do a quick calculation. 5th position, and that gives Peter Phil the title by 2 points. Jansrud needs some help here. Jansrud needs some of the other racers from the World Cup Tour to move the positions. Basically, he needs somebody to win this race and push Peter Phil into runner-up position, because right now it is 4.54 for Peter Phil, 4.52 for Jansrud on screen.
Couldn't be closer. Oh my word, so aggressive on his skis and might have been enough.
The French team are out on course. This is Gus Fayed from Chamonix. Fayed just looking to sign off the tour with a top flight result, or he may see his top seed start number slip away for next season, and we all know what next season is all about. It's the 2018 Winter Olympic Games in Pyeongchang, Korea. So for those racers that are not in the hunt for the top 3 of the season standings, it's all about earning the best possible start number for next season's tour.
His Fayed has started like a rocket. He's managing to stay in touch with Dominic Paris, who turns out had a belter of an opening section here. And now as he's rolling from ski to ski, still managing to stay on track with the line. Look at that great angles through that turn. Just trying to fight to push the body weight further forward as he comes into this big compression, this big right foot aeroplane turn, as he stands heavy on that foot, trying to transition the speed down the hill. Great transitions. Got to keep that chest a little bit lower, though.
Now, if he pushes Jansrud down another place, it's all looking good for Peter Phil, but Fayed looks to be the slowest of the first 5 skiers out of the gate. Now 0.95 of a second slower at 4, split time interval 4, I should say. Drops off the last gate, finish line within sight, and it is 6th position. No change in the top flight, podium places, but Peter Phil holding on to second spot, gives him the tour title. for 2017, but there's still some of the biggest names in the world of downhill skiing to make their challenge. Hannes Reichelt, the best of the Austrians, the downhill world champion, Beat Feuz for Switzerland. And let's not forget Alexander Ormont-Kilde, who could create real problems for his own teammate. Here is the first of the Austrian skiers out on course. Hannes Reichelt, one of the oldest men on tour at 36 years of age. He's definitely coming back for another season. Austria losing one of its great champions, Klaus Kroll, announcing his retirement just before these World Cup finals. But for Reichelt, 0.18 top speed on the upper part of the track, this long gliding section along the Aztec Flats.
He's got such a good touch on his skis. This track could really suit Reichelt if he's able to put a run from top to bottom, which he's actually struggled to do this year. So very rarely has he managed to dial in every section on the run. But look at him now, very calm and collected. This is what we're used to seeing from him. And he's just got to step hard on these big turns through the middle section, through the steeper section,
Reichelt
on his inside
spins
ski.
out, didn't get the purchase from the turning ski, and it's ironic that that's one of the few gates that's in the shade where the snow has stayed cold. And now, after this being the third practice on course for the men, a little slick. That's an uncharacteristic error from Reichelt.
It is, but it's uncharacteristic normally, but in terms of this season, it's something that's dogged him a little bit. He puts down great sections and then ends up just messing up a couple of times, but those errors cost him big, and they have cost him big this season. And this was one of the guys that Janser would have been looking at to take the title back.
Yes, he's won in Garmisch. That's the highlight of the World Cup season for Hannes Reichelt. And 5, but you're not going to get into the top flight there. There's Peter Phil and Dominic Paris waiting very patiently and watching. They'll have done the maths that we've done here in the commentary box. And that commentary box, I must confirm, Peter Phil, 454 points for the downhill season. Kjetil Jansrud, 452. The Italian is looking good to retain his title. Johan Claret for the French team out on course. We were perplexed as to why the French team struggled in the last 2 downhills on the men's tour in Kvitfjell in Norway. This is the man who was 3rd in the big World Cup of the season in Kitzbühel. He would dearly love another top flight result to go with that 3rd position. Again, Claret not really in contention for the top 3 positions to wrap up the season, but just needs to make sure that he holds on to his top seed start number for next year.
Yeah, and he'll be looking for a good season send-off, like we've spoken about before, to make the summer easier. It's so much nicer to finish on a good result, to make those hard yards in the gym and those long fitness and ski sessions worthwhile. So Claret will be looking to sign off. He's doing solid work down here, just standing on his outside ski, not looking like he's taking too many risks, but a solid performance, and that's exactly what he needs to do.
That's a good call. He's very clean in the turn, Johan Claret, 1:17.01. Well, we thought Dominic Paris was in trouble, but that time is looking better and better as the Frenchman hits 123.6 kilometers per hour through the speed gun. These turns are very tight on the lower section, and they've got the better of Johan Claret into 5th position. Oh, bad news for Jansrud, now pushed down to 6th. That helps Peter Phil.
And he's taken it by only 100th as well. Jansrud will be smouldering in the finish area. But Claret, you can just see the skis flapping around a little bit, just trying to fight to stay on that edge. And in these snow conditions, you've got to try and be a bit smoother from your edges.
It's a 7-point lead now for Peter Phil over Kjetil Jansrud. Beat Feuz for Switzerland, the newly crowned world downhill champion. What an amazing performance for Feuz in St. Moritz last month. And it's another great Swiss downhill racer that holds the record here for downhill victories. Some of you will remember the Swiss giant Peter Müller. And Müller really dominated here back in the day, doing the double in 1982 and winning again in 85 and 86. 4 times a winner now. Beat Feuz has been on the phone to Peter Müller. Let's see if he can find a little bit of that magic here. No question, if Feuz has brought his A game, he's a skier to watch.
Just getting chucked around by a couple of the bumps at the top section, which I think is why we're seeing him with quite a bit of work to do through this next section. But he's one of the best skiers of the season so far, so he's easily able to make up some time. And like we saw from Peter Phil, didn't have the run of his life, but it's obviously the time-wise is holding up. But there's definitely space to be made back as he comes around this big compression. This is going to heavy right foot, trying to project yourself down the hill as you come from the shade to the light.
It's an awkward track. It really does, as Ed has pointed out earlier, test all of the skills, some long gliding sections, some very technical turns, and some tough jumps as well. Put it all together and make up a track that none of these skiers have raced before until 48 hours ago. And there is the challenge of the last downhill of the season. Points, 7th position. Jansrud holds on to 6th. Jansrud needs to see somebody take the lead, and then all of a sudden Norway have the downhill crystal globe. It's going to be so close here, but right now Dominic Paris leads with a time of 1:33.07, and that will confirm Paris as the 3rd best placed downhiller for the season. Peter Phil is 2nd, scoring 80 points, with Jansrud down in 6th, only scoring 40 points. 7-point lead for Peter Phil for the downhill season title. Now, this could be good for Jansrud, or this could make the session even more painful. Alexander Ormart Kilde, one of the 2 Norwegians in the World Cup downhill final race here today. Kilde desperate for a win to wrap up the season, knocking on the door on the World Cup of Super G downhill, and missed medals at the World Championships by 0.03 of a second and 0.05 of a second.
And he looks like he's on a mission here today. Really staying low in his tuck, trying to work all the bits of the train, maybe trying a little bit too hard through some of these trickier sections. But look at him now, cutting a very, very tight line, staying committed to his outside ski, trying to travel, or just getting pushed, as we said there, pushed onto his inside ski momentarily, but manages to catch that ski nice and early, and he's drawing back some time. Could this...
Oh, Kilde! Well,
some
one
strength.
risk too many for the young Viking. Kilde, renowned as one of the fittest and strongest athletes on the tour, but the 25-year-old Norwegian just pushing it a little too far. And you cannot gamble like that at 75 miles per hour and expect to get away with it. Kilde will not take the lead from Dominic Paris, but perhaps most importantly for the Norwegian team, he will not threaten the position of Jansrud. He goes just behind him in 7th position. Dominic Paris leads. Peter Phil is 2nd. Jansrud down in 6th. At this point in the race, Peter Phil and Italy have the downhill title, but it is far from over here in Aspen, Colorado. Welcome back to Aspen, Colorado. 8th and final downhill of the Men's World Cup Tour. Dominic Paris leads, but Peter Phil is 2nd and Kjetil Jansrud of Norway is 6th. Those are the 2 skiers left to shoot it out for the Tour title in the final speed race of the season. And right now there is a 7-point difference between Peter Phil and Kjetil Jansrud. Now, if the leaderboard changes, then Jansrud will go back ahead of Peter Phil. So the Norwegian and the Italian, safely in the finish area of Ruthie's run here in Aspen, can only watch. Kjetil Jansrud, the 2015 downhill champ, needs a little help from his friends right now. And let's see if the Slovenian Boštjan Klina can spoil the Italian party. Let's not forget Boštjan, a winner on round 6 of the men's speed tour in Kvitfjell in Norway. And little does he know right now that he could help Norway out once again.
He certainly could, but he's got one thing on his mind, and that is bringing his A game down here. This could suit him, you know. It's this opening section, he can very smooth, got a great touch on his skis, and if he can bring some of those skills from Kvitfjell, he could be on this podium today.
It was an 8-year drought of a Slovenian downhill win when Boštjan won just a few weeks ago now, and Boštjan Klina's in trouble here. Boštjan Klina ends the season. Oh, and he takes out some of the skiers watching on as well. Went through the A and the B net, and that is quite a dramatic crash. Well, one of the skiers viewing from the public looks to be up on their feet, and Bosjan Kleiner in a state of shock. Well, he's up on his feet. That is quite remarkable. Race immediately put on hold. Oh, and thumbs up. That is so good to see. Slovenia's top male downhiller of the season. Here he comes again, Ed, in slow motion. Gets caught on the bump.
What the hell?
Something is going on here.
Here he comes again, Ed, in slow motion. Gets caught on the bump or the little compression before the jump itself.
That's where we've seen a couple of guys. We saw Voigt getting pushed in the back seat there, as was, can't remember, one of the Austrians, I think it was. But it's obviously not somewhere where they think they're going to crash. There's 2 layers of B-nets and then into the little C-net. There's not actually going to do much in terms of stopping you. It's not an area that the organisers anticipated having to sort of catch any racers. Yeah, just got pushed, lost the outside ski just before takeoff, which meant he was then drawn down and he didn't have anywhere to go. Wasn't able to absorb the bump because he was already sitting on his bindings before he went off that little lip. But thankfully, he's okay.
Well, thankfully, Bosjan's okay, and thankfully, 1 or 2 of the members of the general public that got caught up in that crash are also unhurt, and perhaps the race organisers may want to add another safety line there. Like any true downhill racer, Bosjan checks that his race skis are not broken, that the skis are okay. Dominic Paris, our current leader, his 100-point score will secure 3rd position for him in the downhill standings. Could actually move up to 2nd position if it becomes a complete nightmare. One of the special rules for the World Cup finals, due to the limited or smaller field, is that we only award points to those skiers placed in the top 15. So, should Peter Phil finish outside of the top 15? No, he would still stay in 3rd position. These are the pictures that we're very happy to see. Bosjan Kleiner skiing away from this crash.
You can see he's got a lot of the weight on the green leg there, his left leg, and he just loses the pressure of the outside. Weight gets drawn in the back seat, and then he cannot absorb that jump, and you're just a passenger. Heavy landing, but thankfully, like we've seen him ski away, but he's going to have a few bruises then. Just, I wouldn't be surprised if they stick in another net, because that was through into the crowd. That's the last thing you need.
Well, there are still 12 racers to go here. The atmosphere at the top of the racetrack, or Ruthie's Run as it's known here in Aspen, is electric right now, because any one of the 12 remaining racers, or maybe 11, still could take this last downhill of the tour. Great shot there of Max Franz on screen, Austrian racer carrying bib number 18. Peter Phil, the defending downhill champion, has scored 80 points at this point in proceedings, an 80-point score with Jansrud down in 6th position, just getting a 40-point score. Gives Peter Phil a 7-point advantage, because Peter was trailing Jansrud by 33 points coming into this last downhill. But there are so many top-ranked racers still to ski, Ed. I've got my eye on Eric Gay. I've had a small flutter on Osborne Paradis. And then you've got the Olympic downhill champion Matthias Meyer wedged in there. And I know one of your personal friends, Travis Ganong, would dearly love to win this home race.
You can never write off an American, or a North American, sorry, when you're racing in North America. There's something about those guys when they get on or close to their own turf, and they have anything can happen. So this race is far from over, and there's so many big guns, like you say. This is going to go right down to the wire.
Well, it's great to see a full house here in Aspen. It's around about 3.5 hours drive if you go into Denver International Airport. But if you've got a good budget, there's nothing more special than flying into Denver, then getting a small aeroplane from Denver into Aspen Airport itself. And the view you get of the Rockies is really quite remarkable. There's a lovely, spectacular view of Aspen. And Snowmass, of course, for me, one of my top 5 ski resorts in the world. Well, that's Sam Morse, World Junior Champion. It's a face and name we'll all need to start getting used to. This young lad is tipped by some of the big opinion leaders in the world of alpine ski racing for great things. And he's out of a ski academy which claims to have helped Bodie Miller on his way as well. And I think that adds to the excitement of young Sam Morse, just 20 years of age, who will be the last racer in the competition. And he's earned his spot to race at these World Cup finals by winning the World Junior Championships in Åre last week. There's Eric Gay there, carrying a bib number 13, Travis Ganong. And as Ed has already pointed out, the Americans have this sixth sense and ability to raise their game when racing on home snow. They don't get many World Cup competitions in North America, and I believe that's why they really do try and push it to the limit. Crowd are gathered from just about every viewing point. Ruthie's Run, which is right onto the, if you're looking up the mountain, to the far right side of Aspen, by Lift 1. For those of you that are familiar with the ski area, Lift 1 then meets Ruthie's ski lift to get you to the top of this racetrack. It's a classic. They had their first downhill here back in 1968, and that was won by Gerhard Nenning from Austria. Nancy Green did the treble here, and a very local or famous local skier by the name of Billy Kidd also won the slalom here back in 68. And it's been one of those downhill tracks that has always attracted the big names. And some great stories over the years. Dominic Paris hoping to join that very impressive list of former winners here. If you're a slalom fan or a downhill fan, there are some great names. Trinkel, Ormot, Mara, Tomba, Heinze, Girardelli, Zurbriggen, Peter Muller, Todd Brooker. It goes on and on and on. Two of the most famous stories are, of course, Olympic downhill champions coming here and winning. Klammer in 76, Bill Johnson in 84. And perhaps my favourite story, a gentleman by the name of Ivica Kostelic won his first ever World Cup slalom here from a start number of 64. Ed, another great friend of yours.
Yeah, and then got his guitar out and serenaded the crowd. So, yeah, a big showman, big favourite with the crowd, and what a great place to come and do it.
30 seconds till this downhill is back underway, and this story is far from over. Peter Phil holding second position and Kjetil Jansrud holding sixth. Right now has Italy taking the downhill tour title for 2017. Patrick Kung carries bib 12 for the Swiss team. Another skier looking for a big result to wrap up the 2017 season. Just missed the medals in St. Moritz. Championships where Kung took fourth position. Downhill tour, yet to go better than seventh. Pressure here, Ed, on Patrick's shoulders, just to try and pick off at least another top 10 for him, hopefully a top 5. To come back with a vengeance in the Olympic year of 2018.
Yeah, he's had a bit of a tough season by his standards. Like you say, he managed to pick up a fourth in St. Moritz, but the rest of his season's been a bit here, hit or miss. And again, another guy that's been caught out by that jump, but he's now back in his tuck position, back looking, concentrating on what he's got to do rather than what's happened before. So he's just got to look again, looking off sorts, off with his line, not looking comfortable at all.
You know, the athletes, as we said at the beginning of this broadcast, because we haven't raced World Cups for 16 years and more than 20 for downhill competitions, it's a brand new racetrack, and one or two are not sure with the racing line here. And Patrick Kung has had 2 or 3 quite serious line errors, look to be going down on a couple of them. Let's not forget we've had a couple of practice runs over the past 48 hours, but 1.07. I'm not sure Kung will be able to make up anything close to that on this lower section.
A few link recoveries down here, not really showing what he's got, and I think he's going to be happy to have this in the finish area.
Well called. 1:34.02, 10th position for Patrick Kung.
just line error through this section. Luckily for him, just managing to get the right side of that control gate, but then a heavy edge set as he's looking to transition smoothly from edge to edge. Just getting some too heavy on his edges just means that its momentum is carrying him sideways instead of down the hill.
Eric Gay for Canada looked good in training, has had a brilliant season on the downhill tour. Eric Gay lies in joint 7th position, 4th and 6th in the last 2 downhills, but it was the World Championships where the Canadian veteran really was able to shine. Gold in the Super G and silver in the downhill. Here's a chance for Jansrud. Can Eric Gay spoil the Italian party here? So far, so good. Just 0.12 of a second off the pace of the current leader, Dominic Paris.
Fully committed out of the start gate. He pushed at least sort of 3 or 4 times longer than anybody else before he settled into his tuck. He really wants this one. You could see him. Great confidence from the training runs. He's still in touch. Some time is still to be found on this lower section, but we've seen from previous races there is time in this lower section. We saw I think it was Claret making up nearly 0.4 of a second through the final split, so Eric has got some space to really try and seal this off.
Well, 0.69 of a second has him just outside of the top 6, like Johan Claret.
Something is going on here!
Maybe Will saw something that he shouldn't have.
Him just outside of the top 6, like Johan Claret of the French team. He will need to really let them run on this lower section. A couple of quick switches from left to right, coming out of Norway Island through 5th Avenue, now heading to the finish line. It's 0.74 for the Canadian challenger, and believe you me, Dominic Paris and Peter Phil will breathe a sigh of relief as Eric Gay crosses the line. 1:33.07 is still safe. Eric Gay goes 3rd. Oh! A spectacular finish from the Canadian. That is good news for Peter Phil. That is more bad news for the leader coming into this last race, Jansrud. Oh. Now, it's 11 points separating Peter Phil from Kjetil Jansrud. Great ski from Eric Gay. As we said earlier, those skiers that aren't in the hunt for the Crystal Globe are just looking to sign off the tour on a high note, as is the next skier out on course for Austria, Romed Baumann. Never better than 7th in points. In the points, I should say, all 7 of his races leading into this 8th and final downhill of the season. But Baumann would love a big one here today to sign off. So much young Austrian talent looking for World Cup and 18 places. Baumann really cannot afford to stay out of the top 10.
Very consistent all season long, but we've just not seen that spark that's going to take him up towards the top of the sport. And again, another guy getting caught out in the shade, not really committing to his outside ski, losing that pressure and therefore losing the line and getting dragged very low in the line. And now he's got an acre of time to try and make up if he's going to be in anywhere near the top 10.
And Jansrud is now down to 7th, a 33-point advantage the Norwegian came into this last race with has been overturned by Peter Phil, who holds on to 2nd position and is now 11 points clear of the Norwegian. Peter Phil looking to become one of 3 Italian skiers in 50 years of World Cup competition to retain a World Cup title. Gustavo Toni, Alberto Tomba, and potentially Peter Phil here today, as Baumann out of the top 10 with a disappointing performance.
Yeah, another frustrating day for him in the office. Trying to roll up cleanly. This isn't the turn that cost him the time, but just watch those skis bouncing as they struggle for grip through this really hard snow. It's grippy, but it's still hard, so you still have to fully commit to your skis.
Here's a chance for Travis Ganong to win in front of his home crowd. Now, the American, who's originally from Squaw Valley, where the Women's World Cup was contested at the weekend, Friday and Saturday of last week. And Ganong is a World Cup winner, let's not forget. Took round 4 of the men's tour in Garmisch-Partenkirchen. Let's see if some of that magic of yesteryear can rub off on Ganong. Phil Mehra's won here. The last downhill winner was Bill Johnson in 1984. Bill Johnson, of course. Now Ganong. This is the key split. How's he gone on the flats? And he's got a lot of work to do. Over 3/4 of a second for the 28-year-old American to find on the last 2/3 of the challenge.
Lots of work to do. This is the tricky section. Just got to stay committing to his outside. Looks a little heavy on his edge, a little laboured. Maybe the season's taken it out of him a little bit now. With a lot of work to do as he puts through this big right foot. Lots of pressure coming at the end of the turn. Just then drawn onto the heels, not really attacking, not looking like he's sort of driving the ski down the hill. It looks like he's just labouring a little from edge to edge.
Now 1.32. Ganong. Perhaps would have liked the snow just a little colder and icier underfoot. 1.3 off the pace. Down into 12th position. The Americans will now look to skier number 23, Sam Morse, their newly crowned World Junior Champion, to potentially give them the dream story here in Aspen. I agree with our expert in the box, Ed Drake. Ganong just looking a little battle-weary and tired after a long, tough season. Well, there's Peter Phil, and there's the confirmation of the current standings, 4-5-4 to 4-4-3, an 11-point advantage. Oh, that must be such a painful wait. 16 is in the gate. Carlo Janka for the Swiss team. Carlo's another one of those skiers that would dearly love 2 or 3 more weeks of racing, because he's coming to form right at the end of the tour. His best downhill result of the season coming in the last round in Kvitfjell in Norway, just over a couple of weeks ago now.
Lovely smooth style. This is somebody that Jansrud's going to be praying is going to help him out, but another skier that's losing quite a bit of time through that flatter section through the middle part. He's going to have to try and give it everything through this next one. Look at that lovely transition from edge to edge, nice and smooth. Still skis bouncing around, but he's still traveling down the hill. Let's hope that he can stay in touch. Look at that, made up some time, couple of tenths closer. This is what Jansrud needs. This is what this is the last thing that Peter Phil needs.
Oh, the Italians will be holding their breath, not just the 2 skiers at the foot of Ruthie's Run here in Aspen, but ski race fans across the world, because Carlo Janka is charging here. 123.5 kilometers per hour through the gun, 75 mph. Carlo Janka just needs to tighten this up a little in the closing turns. 1:33.07 is the target time. One thing there, 3rd position. Carlo Janka is on the podium, but does not budge the 2 Italians. Peter Phil holds on to 2nd position. Peter Phil holds on to the downhill title. But that was a close one.
Very, very close. Janka, so close to that final part. Just, you could see him just building that challenge. You know he's got confidence, but that is enough to see Jansrud move further down the standings.
Carlo Janka picks off his best downhill result of the season. And let's see if Matthias Meyer can put the Austrians into the shaker. Kriegmeier is their best so far, lying in 6th position. Eric Gay and Andreas Sander of Germany tie for 4th. But somebody needs to push Peter Phil down a couple of places to allow Jansrud to take the title. Peter Phil could be crowned the downhill champion for 2017 without winning a World Cup downhill all season long. And that hasn't happened since Mark Girardelli in the 1993-94 tour.
And Meyer's going to give everything down here. He's got to try and salvage some Austrian pride down here. They're not used to seeing themselves so far down the leaderboard. They're used to seeing themselves standing on the podium. And Meyer was the one who broke the Austrians' run of bad form. And now he's getting pushed low in the line. He's going to have to really fly if he's going to take a spot on the podium. Just getting pushed low again. Oh, he's throwing this away almost.
And after such a good 3rd interval time, a huge error from Meyer. He knows he's made the mistake. Look how aggressive he is now on this lower section, really trying to charge, but a quarter of a second thrown away. Can he find 4/10 on the lower section here? Or will the Italians maintain their dominance at the top of the table? The Olympic downhill champion from Austria, Matthias Meyer, still only 26 years of age. Meyer into 6th position. Oh, it's more bad news for Jansrud. Now down into 9th.
So Matthias Meyer, right there, only one Austrian left to go, throws those hands up.
So Peter Phil still has control of the race and the downhill title, with Jansrud total tally now down to 4-3-6, 18 points behind Peter Phil. Max Franz is out on course for the Austrian team. Can anybody stop the Italians here in Aspen? Dominic Paris third in the Tour standings. If it ends this way, Jansrud will be second, but Peter Phil will retain the title that he won last season. Max Franz, Adrien Theo, Osborne, Paradis are the 3 big names left. Then Gavi Etzel and Thomas Dressen of Germany qualifying for the World Cup finals for the first time in their career. Then to wrap it all up, Sam Morse, the newly crowned World Junior Champion, just 20 years of age.
And Max Franz going for it through this opening section. Now he's rolling into his tuck, and he's got a lot of work to do. There's some very heavy edge pressure through that section there, and now he's pushing onto the heels, just looking like he's trying too hard. You can't try too hard on this slope. You've got to still relax and allow the skis to be supple over the snow, and he's forcing it, he's fighting it, and this snow's too aggressive for you to jam on these skis and without having that finesse.
Yeah, and there are so many different cuts in the snow from different lines being taken, particularly coming across Summer Road into Straw Pile, Norway Island, then to 5th Avenue to wrap it all up. 1.68 is very disappointing, I have to say, for the World Championship bronze medalist back in February, as Max Franz wants to see this one over and perhaps turn his attentions to tomorrow's super giant slalom here on Ruthie's Run. 1.52 off the pace. Max Franz down into joint 16th position with Baumann.
Disappointing from Franz. Big flight off the opening proper jump there, but straight back in his tuck. But I think just trying too hard. Look at that heavy edge before that roll, and then just gets pushed a little bit low, gets height off the snow. You need to keep that ski snow contact if you're going to try and carry some more heat into those flat sections. There's so many of them.
Peter Phil now with an 18-point advantage. But if somebody steals the lead, he will lose 20 points. And then it becomes very, very close indeed. Adrien Theo, the French team, again a skier with the back class to take the victory here. A skier that has been placed in the top 10 in 50% of his races on the downhill tour this season.
Look at that, look at those legs working the terrain. Watch them shock absorb all these small little bumps, and he's managing to stay within just outside half a second deficit, but that's in his locker. Now he comes to the tricky section just here. Heavy right foot, stay over it. Lovely end to that turn, just getting pushed inside as he's coming down now. Big right foot, big deep breath. Clawed back a little bit of time. Now heavy on that right foot, trying to release the ski down the hill and take that speed towards the finish line.
Well, that's good work through Straw Pile for the French racer. Norway Island just on the skier's left, 0.55 off the pace. He's in touch here. He can just shave a 10th off. Theo will break into the top 5. Good news for the French racer, but more bad news for Jansrud. Theo's in trouble. Loses the racing line just through the penultimate gate, and Theo goes forth. Oh dear, oh dear. If it were not for that lapse in concentration, 2 from home, that could have been a podium in the last race of the season. Pushes Jansrud down to 10th. Peter Phil starting to look more and more comfortable in runner-up position now to take the title for downhill for 2017. Where did it go wrong here for Theo?
You can see just lost the outside ski a couple of times, but that last second to last gate, a big right, left foot turn, and that was the difference between the podium and 4th place.
Well, fantastic crowd here in Aspen. Aspen snowmats on this gorgeous sunny day. You guys having fun? All right, I hope so. This is
Well, Peter Field feeling a little more confident. Dominic Paris, first man out of the gate, has done exceptionally well and could well record his second win of the season. Out on course, perhaps the last skier with the back class to spoil the party here. And this is Canada's Manny Osborne parody. Third and sixth in the two practice runs. A bronze medalist from the recent World Championships. But that came in Super G. Perhaps the most important stats for Osborne parody. Fourth and fifth in the last two downhills in Kvitfjell just over 2.5 weeks ago.
And he is absolutely on fire. This is what we like to see from Manny. Great resurgence in his career this last season, really bringing his A game, just getting pushed low through the big turns, but he's got it in his locker still to try and make up this time. A nice quick transition, not even a quarter of a second. This is the time. Big right foot, release the ski, get your back in that tuck and try and drive this to the finish line.
This is the upset that the Italians were hoping would not happen. Osborne parody for Canada. He's won twice before in downhill, and one of those victories has come in North America. Now 0.37 off the pace at split time 4. Osborne parody needs to pinch the line here, stay low and forwards and dive for the finish area. Now he's into the tuck. There's the target time. Osborne parody, fourth position. Oh, Dominic Paris cannot believe it, nor can Peter Phil. It's on the cards, an Italian 1 and 2, the win for Dominic Paris, but the title for Peter Phil.
Peter Phil in the finish area.
Oh, what a run from Manny. Just running out of steam a little bit through the end, but some great skiing. It's so nice to see him back on form. Looking like a man that could carry on a couple more races with this form that he's in at the moment.
Now Mauro Caviezel for the Swiss team. Some good late season form gives Mauro a chance to race the World Cup finals. And for the first time in his career to date, a bronze medalist from the World Championships. No question about that. That was the highlight of Mauro's season. But that bronze medal came in the Alpine combined. So the 28-year-old from the Swiss resort of Lenzerheide would cause quite a stir if he stole the lead from Dominic Paris here today.
It would be a bit of an upset, but absolutely flying again. Straight back in his tuck, looking confident again. 0.3 off the pace, but as again we've seen there's space to be made in the lower part, but just got to stay committed. Great turn there, still commitment to... Oh!
Caviezel goes down on the inside ski. Cat-like reactions, gets the Swiss racer back up on the skis in a split second. But that puts pay to Caviezel's chances of a big point score. He'll be pretty angry when he finds out how close he was to the mark. The congratulations now start to come the Italian racer's way with just 2 skiers to go. And here, the error of the Swiss racer.
Just see his skis getting back.
To everyone who knows quality moments can happen anytime.
And here, the error of the Swiss racer.
Just see his skis getting bounced around just a little bit before that turning gate, and then the weight moves inside as he gets pushed further away from the gate. Sort of natural reaction to try and lean into where you want to go, and that's the total opposite of what you actually need to do to get the ski to turn, and then losing that contact with the outside ski and down. Like you say, great reactions to get back up, because you're going pretty quick down there. You don't want to be hitting the nets going at that sort of speed.
Yeah, no, they're coming in 70 miles per hour. Well, the podium-placed athletes are preparing. Now, Thomas Dressen, he's had a real good run of a 6th and 11th in Kvitfjell to move him up from the 40s to 25th position in the downhill rankings, and to book himself a spot to Aspen, or a train and plane ticket to Aspen, Colorado. No matter what the outcome of this final race for Dressen, those 2 results in Kvitfjell tell us that there's another German speed ski star in the making.
And somebody that shouldn't be written off. These guys at the finish, I know that he's not one of the most sort of well-known guys in the downhill tour, but having scored, like you say, a 6th and an 11th means that this guy can ski. This guy can put the cat amongst the pigeons if he has another good race day like last time out.
I would love this lad to cause an upset here, but it's not looking that way. 0.86 of a second. Dominic Paris, first man out of the gate, sets the time on Ruthie's run here in Aspen, Colorado at 1 minute 33.07. Peter Phil, who came into this final race of the season trailing by 33 points, has turned the tables on the Norwegian Janrud to successfully defend the title that he won this time last year with a time of 1 minute 33.15. Carlo Janka, his first podium position in downhill of the season. We said during his run he would love 3-4 more races to wrap up this tour, because Janka seems to be getting better and better as the tour winds itself up. And Osborne Paradis, one of 2 Canadians in the top flight. His great friend Eric Gay 6th and Manny in 4th position. 16th position for Tom Dressen from Team Germany.
It was a stable run. It was nothing great about it, but also managing to stay out of the pitfalls that we've seen some of the more experienced racers fall into. So another quality run from him, building to the end of his season.
Now here's the newly crowned World Junior Champion, just 20 years of age. This is Sam Morse. Can you believe it? The American men and women did the double at the World Junior Championships in Åre, Sweden. Of course, with Alice Mayweather winning the women's gold, and we'll see Alice later on this afternoon here on Eurosport. But as for this young lad, he was 4th in the Sochi World Juniors last year, took gold this year. A lot of people are saying this is America's new Bodie Miller.
With absolutely nothing to lose here. He's not got any expectations from anybody. He's just got to go out there, enjoy himself, soak it all up, because this is going to be his life for the next good few years, that's right.
Looking at his technical skills, Ed, he looks more like Steve Nyman than he does
like
Bodie
Nyman.
Miller, with the way he lets those skis glide and wash over the snow. I'd say he's on the same ski brand as well. I'd say the target for Sam Morse is to try and get into the top 15 and earn his first ever World Cup points in his career here today.
A great opportunity starting 23 to score World Cup points, like saying, going to 15th place, but doing solid work. Just a little bit wild with his upper body. He needs to calm that down just a bit if he's going to try and mix it with the big guns. The more you do with your upper body, the more that translates into what's happening underneath your skis as he gets pushed back. But so you just calm all that down so you can concentrate on the real important stuff, which is what's happening under your feet.
He's a tall, long-levered athlete, and I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot more of Sam Morse from the USA. He's out of the Sugarloaf Ski Club and the Carabayet Academy. And 21st position, 2.14 seconds off the best downhillers on the Men's World Cup Tour. So good to see the World Junior Champion in with the big names. But the story that will grab all of their headlines after today's competition is that Team Italy have done the business here in Aspen, Colorado, and Peter Phil has successfully defended his downhill title and is the fastest man of the 2017 World Cup Tour. So the top 3 place downhillers make their way to the podium presentation. Dominic Paris, second win of the season. What a way to wrap up the tour. But Peter Phil, who looks so strong in the 2 practice runs, a model of consistency, scores enough points to take the title of downhill champion for 2017. Finally beating Janrud by 23 points and Dominic Paris by 83 points. He didn't win one, but including today, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 podium performances from Peter Phil, with number 3 on your screens just to the left, has given the Italian enough points to take the title. Mark Girardelli did it in 1993-94, won a Crystal Globe without winning a race. Carlo Janka takes 3rd position. So good to see Carlo on the podium, his first downhill podium of the season. He wishes there was more to come. Peter Phil, his 4th runner-up spot on the tour. The win today goes to Dominic Paris.
Also representing Italy, Dominic Paris.
But it's the 80-point score for Peter Phil in runner-up position that will give Italy the Crystal Globe for the second back-to-back season. What a day for Team Italy. But what a day for Peter Phil. He came in trailing by 33 points. And he has turned the tables on Kjetil Janrud to successfully defend his downhill crown. In slow motion, the top three in reverse order. Here to sum up from you, Carlo Janka. Great form towards the end of the tour. He just wishes it was not over now.
He does, and it's so nice to see him back, having been so good a couple of seasons ago and then really struggled to find his form. To get it back, he's so smooth on his skis. Great end to his season.
And for Peter Phil, well, it was consistency that brought him the Crystal Globe.
And a cool head on his shoulders, because lots of pressure coming today. He knew what he had to do, and he put down a solid run and did the business for Italy.
Now, Dominic Paris came off the back of a bitterly disappointing World Championships, but he certainly made amends here today. Not easy going bid number one, and what turned out to be the best ski of the day.
It did, and a tough weekend last World Cup outing, and then to come back and really make amends to that, which was the thing that paid to his overall, his downhill tour title challenge, and then to come back with a win. Great sign-off for the season.
So confirmation of the 8th and final downhill of the men's World Cup ski racing tour. Dominic Paris heads up an Italian 1-2 with Carlo Janka in 3rd position. Osborne Paradis for Theo in 5th. Eric Gay and Andreas Sander tying for 6th position. But the 11th position for Kjetil Janrud only gave the Norwegian 24 points, and that allowed Peter Phil to take the Crystal Globe. What a great shootout this has been here in Colorado today. Remember, Janrud took the title in 2015, Peter Phil took it in 2016, and the Italian has retained that title here today after a spectacular performance. And here is that presentation.
2017 Audi FIS Men's Downhill World
Peter
Cup.
Phil is the downhill champion for 2017. Only 2 other Italian racers have done back-to-back Crystal Globes, Tomba and Gustavo Toni. But today here in Colorado, it is Peter Phil that gives Italy the downhill title. What a great performance from the 34-year-old Italian Peter Phil.